Don't even know if I'm on the air this time. Hey, you know, the last time I did one of these, it didn't work out. I didn't have sound, but I hope I have sound this time. So I'm going to try to have some sound, and I'm going to try to talk about multiple cameras. Is that cool? You can have more than one camera at the same time. Well, how good is that? We're going to have some fun. Actually, we're not really going to have fun. We're just going to do the same normal crap that I do. But I have fun doing it. So even if I have fun, maybe you'll have fun watching. And I'm not sure if you can hear me because I always seem to have trouble making sure that my sound is right, my audio levels are right. And that's kind of the reason I created this channel in the first place. A lot of people are like me. We're not audio engineers. We didn't go to some kind of engineering school to learn how to, work the board and that kind of cool stuff. So hey, did that sound too loud? I can't tell. Hey, somebody's here already. Hey, Alpha Omega, I saw you last time. See, and I've learned now. The last time I did this, I didn't know how to do that. I wanted to acknowledge that somebody had said hello to me. This was Alpha Omega Creations, and he says he can hear me. Thank you for letting me know that, because I actually did one video once where the entire time I had no idea if anybody could hear me. In fact, I didn't even know if anybody knew I was there. So at least I know somebody has acknowledged that I'm there, and I figured out how to do the comment thing, and I'm going to talk about that too. I got a whole bunch of stuff I want to go over. A lot of it's techie stuff, and some of it's really not just techie per se. Some of it is just, I want to talk about what it takes to make a live broadcast, and one that's kind of decent. And by kind of decent, I mean it doesn't suck. Because, I've seen a lot of live feeds that are really slick and polished. And I say to myself, these guys have it together. It's no wonder they're like, big YouTube stars, if whatever that means. And I always say to myself, well, why can't I do that? Or, do they have money behind them? Probably some of them do. I know a lot of them have big sponsors. I have no sponsors. I'm kind of doing this the way I've always done it, which is just for fun. By the way, there was a period of time when you actually got money from YouTube for just about any channel. In other words, let's say boom, you picked up a email address, which automatically gives you a Google ID. And then you'd go into YouTube, and you'd sign up and say, hey, I want to make money off of this. You just kind of check the box almost. It was not much more than that. And you can actually earn money from the views. And I actually had quite a few views, and I'd make like, $50, $100, whatever it is a month. Not a lot. Probably more than some, because I at least had some videos that had some traction. But then they pulled that away. They said, hey, you know what? From now on, it's too complicated keeping track of all of that for these smaller channels. So you got to have 1,000 subscribers, or we're not letting you in the door. So they dropped me, because I only had like 300 subscribers at the time. And they also had another rule, which I thought was a little bit much. The other rule was, hey, you have to have 4,000 hours of view time in 1 year. Now, do you understand what 4,000 hours are? That just doesn't mean just 4,000 people viewed it. Because if you have 4,000 people, that's still pretty good for some channels. But 4,000 hours. Now, I was doing videos with a channel that had, and by the way, I'm going to talk about let me go into multiple cameras and see how that works out. Like, here's a second camera. This camera here is a cheap camera, but it looks decent. Although I think it's a little bright. It's a little bright, but it's a decent camera. So the point is, to get 4,000 views, you had to do quite a bit. I mean, I was doing videos that were only about 2 to 3 minutes long on my other channel, ideaoftheday.com. And in ideaoftheday.com, the whole point was I would just kind of shoot a whole bunch of videos to get behind the scenes of that. Every day for over 500 days, I posted a brand new video every single day where I would just kind of talk about whatever came to my mind. Usually minute, 2 minute, 3 minute, 5 would be long. 6 or 7 was like I had an epic conversation with the audience, and that wasn't something I did. So I would film or record. I would record maybe 20 or 30 of them on one weekend. In maybe 2 or 3 hours. I would just record 30 of them, which if you watched my other channel, you'd see me wearing the same shirt for like 3 weeks straight. It's because I shot them back to back. Anyhow, those videos were short. And, you know, although some of them got, you know, 20,000 views or whatever, and some of them had like 6 views. And then whenever a video had 6 views, it was kind of bad because 3 of them were from what I call the 3 Bryans. I know 3 Bryans, and they were the only ones that were there all the time. Anyhow, so those wouldn't exactly get me to the 4,000 hour mark. Not at all. So what I've noticed is the people who really have, and I'm going to switch cameras again, because then again, I want to talk about how this is done in a little bit, because that's part of the conversation of this video is how to do these sorts of things. Like I'm switching from camera to camera, and I've got lighting to go over, and I've got sound to go over, and I really want to get into the software too. So anyhow, with the 4,000 hour rule, those short videos just simply wouldn't get there. But the channels that really picked up traction most were literally the people who played games for like 4 hours and they streamed it live. They literally would take a game and say, hey, let's beat, and I'm not a gamer, so I don't do that. Let's beat, you know, Dog of War. I don't even know if that's a real game, but they made it up. Let's beat Dog of War. We'll play it together. And then you'd see this video where the whoever that is, he would look kind of like this. In fact, I can do that and talk about that. And then I'll pick a different one. And do I know how to do this? I do know how to do this. Watch this. I think I know how. I think if I do this, you're seeing both cameras at the same time. At least I think so, right? I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. So here would be the gamer, like on this camera. And he's down in the corner, like where I hopefully am right now, right? So he's down there and he's got his joystick, if that's what they call them now. I think they call them controllers. But when I was young, I'm 55. When I was young, they called them joysticks. So we'd have our joystick in our hand. You'd see the gamer. He'd be playing the game in the corner while the big part of the screen is the game. And he'd be hitting, he'd hit the monsters and all that other stuff. And as he's going through all this, the clock is ticking. So now you get a gamer who's kind of popular. Let's say he gets 100 people, which is actually decent. 100 people. Which camera am I looking at as my main right now? I should be looking at that one, right? Yeah. Each, and I could undo what I just did. In fact, I will. So that, oh, look, there's another approach I didn't think about. So let me turn off one, and now I want to turn on the other. See, I'm learning this. I'm going to school you as I'm learning it. I want this one on the left, and I want to remove. Am I on? That's the wrong camera. See, I need my glasses. Getting old. Going here. There. Now I'm on this one. So as he'd get like 100 people, and he's playing the game for 3-4 hours. Well, he's got, 100 people times, 4 hours. He's getting that 4,000 hour limit pretty quickly. I mean, definitely compared to me. I mean, what do I know? I'm just 3-minute video, 4-minute video, a couple of jokes about toilets and stuff like that. Hey, look, we have somebody new joining us here. I want to give a shout out to everybody. Gets a little recognition. Here we go. Leona Rosales. Hi, Leona Rosales. I've seen you on my channel before. In fact, I've seen Alpha Omega as well. So I'm just kind of doing a quick shout out. And, if you want a little shout out, hey, just say hello. Glad to see we've got a couple of people commenting, which is good. The number of viewers will trickle in. That's the way these things work. And a bunch of people will probably watch it later. And hey, on the playback, this sort of thing will, hey, here we go. That's, yes. And see, I like the way this software works. And I'm going to get into that. Yes, I do. I hope I know a lot, but I have to admit, I know very little about, no, I know a little bit about a lot. That's because I'm kind of the curious type. So I do these videos on this channel. This is my regular channel. This is the Joe Crescenzi channel. By the way, I do have ways. I've got cool features I can even do that kind of show up now. I'm going to go there. See, I could do that now. I learned how to do that. And we're going to go there too. And I've learned how to do some other stuff. Like I can pull in, well, I didn't set them up in advance. We're going to set them up together. So I could turn that part off right now. And there it goes. It goes away. So, and I ramble on again. Sorry about that. Although maybe that's what you're here for. It's just hearing me ramble once in a while. So what I've noticed is, again, if you want to build a successful YouTube channel, you got to get the 4,000 hours. And how do you get 4,000 hours if you're not playing video games like those people do? Well, the only other thing you could do is try to make interesting content. And back to that original point about what I do know. I'm not, yes, exactly. I am the curious type. I love gadgets. I've had a computer since the 70s. And back then, nobody bought a computer unless they programmed it, because you couldn't just go to the computer store. They weren't, well, there were some computer stores, but you just couldn't just buy a computer and do something useful. In fact, there wasn't really that many programs out there. Software was really dismal. I mean, I actually remember software that was like, you'd pay your $10 or whatever, and it was a program that just put a clock on your screen. And the reason you bought a program that only put the clock on the screen was that you, let's say, just wanted to learn how they did it, because you wanted to learn how to program it. You couldn't buy a word processor. It didn't exist. So that's what I've done here with this audio, with the video, with the cameras, with all the other gear I have. I have lots of gear, and I don't do it professionally, which is great, because let's say I was I've got lots of nice cameras. Like the camera I'm talking through right now is a Canon EOS 90D. It's a 4K camera. It's beautiful. It's something that you might have if you are a semi-pro. Semi-pro meaning you maybe do some weddings, but only for your friends. You know what I mean? It's kind of like a fuzzy line there between pro and semi-pro. It means it's a little higher than someone who just shoots with their iPhone, which, by the way, takes fantastic pictures on itself. And I'm not going to go and debate whether one is better than the other, but I lean, at least for serious production, on a camera like this. But you wouldn't do a paid job using low-end prosumer in the middle stuff. But sometimes I buy the stuff that is for the high end just because I'm curious. And that's exactly back to the point again. I love this kind of stuff, like this microphone here. That's the one I'm talking to right now. It's got a nice sound, right? And when I talk to that microphone, by the way, I'd like to see it. See, now I'm talking over here, and I'm on the other camera, and it's closer to that. This microphone here is a Neumann. This is a TLM 103. This is the microphone that Howard Stern uses. Now, that's a pro, right? This is a $1,300 microphone. Now, I didn't buy it because he uses it. And by the way, I also have on my shelf over there, I have the Shure SM7B, which is about a $400 microphone, but you got to buy a little amps and stuff to go with it. It's really like a $500 microphone. That's the one Robin uses. And again, I didn't do it because they did it. But the point is, I like to toy with the professional gear, and not because I'm being paid to do it, just because I like it. I'm curious about it. I like to see how it works. And I like to explain on my channel the little nuances of how it works. And it gives me pleasure to do it. I like to share that information. Oh, and you can kind of see it in the shot. And it's kind of not queued up here, but I think if I dial this up, that also is a professional microphone. That microphone is a Sennheiser MKH416. If I cue down the other one, now you're only hearing the Sennheiser, just the Sennheiser by itself. This is about $1,000 microphone, and it's mostly used by TV and movie producers to make, authentic, TV and movies. This is like a workhorse. People take this out in the field and they do things with it. So that's a high-end thing. I'm going to switch back because I don't know if it's good to have both microphones on. So right now you should be hearing me back again on my other Neumann. And I have another thing on there. See, I love when there's a comment. Your mic video is fantastic. Could hear. Oh, here we go. Let's just talking about it. Oh, I almost hit the finish button. Boy, that's dangerous. I'm trying to turn that in so people can read the comments. There we go. And I do that sort of thing. And back to Leona's comment, what I like to do in my other videos is I like to compare different brands of microphones for people who are looking. I'm looking at the wrong camera, I think, right? Am I on this camera? No, I'm on this camera. I forget. I like to compare the microphones. I'm peeking to see if that's the one because I can't really tell which one is shooting unless I actually look at my laptop. So I like to compare the two microphones that I think are in the same kind of a league so people can compare. And one of the things that I find interesting, I'm going to switch back to this camera. One of the things I find interesting, by the way, is that you can get this $1,300 microphone and you're really doing well with it. And you can get paid jobs with it, which I really should because, I mean, if you're going to invest that kind of money, you should. But you could pay $100, and I have some microphones here that are in that price range. They literally only cost me about $100, and they sound almost as good, almost. Sort of like the way a Mustang is almost as fast as a Corvette, but the Corvette's like more than twice the price. And a Corvette is almost as fast as a Ferrari. And Ferrari's twice that price. And then there's other cars that are twice the price of the Ferrari. So the differences between each of those price categories is very thin. So you can often get a good quality broadcast by using low-end materials. Now, just to kind of put things in context about the differences, and this is kind of the subject of my channel in this video in a small way, is that sometimes you have to figure out where do you want to spend to get the best possible quality. Like right now, I mentioned I'm using an EOS 90D. It's about $1,000 camera, and I've got a bunch of lenses for different distances and so forth. I'm going to show you what this channel would look like if I wasn't using that. I'm going to go back to the built-in FaceTime camera. This is what I'd look like if I was using just the camera built into my laptop. Now, it's not horrible, right? It's pretty decent. And part of that is actually because I have decent light. So there's a little quick tip there. If you have a channel that you want to launch and you don't really have high-end stuff and you don't want to do it from your phone, consider using your built-in camera on iPad, an iPhone, or in this case a MacBook. MacBook cameras are very low end. They're like 720p as opposed to the 4K that we have there. And by the way, I'm only broadcasting this out in 1080 because I'm not sure if the 4K would work, because I actually I'm going to switch back to the other one. And by the way, there's a way to actually show as many cameras as you want with this software. I could say I want that one plus that one plus that one. Now I have all three at the same time. It's great software. It's called ECAMM Live, and we're going to get into the software as part of this because it's part of what I do. Then, of course, you can turn it into this picture-in-picture mode. So now whichever one I choose here becomes the main picture, and then I could toggle in, if I wanted to, the other cameras as the lower part. So, and by the way, I should also say one other thing. Like, let's say, I'm going to do this again. Let's say I'm using the built-in camera, and I want to see, well, what would a built-in mic sound like? So I'm going to do that. MacBook Pro microphone. So this is, and I don't know, because I'm listening through here, but this, I think, and it could be wrong, should be the sound coming from my MacBook. Now, the only way I can verify that that's the case is I'm going to tap. Now I'm hearing it from here because it's coming through this. I'm going to tap. Yeah, I'm not getting the tap there, but if I don't know where the microphone is on the MacBook, so well, anyhow, that should be the sound of the MacBook Pro. Oh yes, the blue, that is the 8-ball. I'm going to bring that up. I have another comment. The microphone behind me, they don't make anymore. I didn't realize. Yeah, it's sort of in the shot, right? Yeah, that's kind of in the shot. Oh, by the way, there's all kinds of other things a lot of people do on their YouTube channel, which I didn't do. I'm going to switch back to our other camera because I'm not thrilled with the MacBook camera. And I should also switch back to my Rodecaster. Now I should sound better and I should look better. And that right there is the blue 8-ball, which they don't make anymore. And to answer a question, am I using ECAMM to switch the audio and video? Yes. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go through that as part of the reason for creating this video in the first place. So let's jump over to some of the nuts and bolts as to how this ECAMM software works. And also, I keep forgetting which camera I'm looking at. Am I looking at this one? Yes, I think that's this one. Ah, yeah, there you go. So at this moment, the camera that I'm using is the 90D. Now, I am going to show you how I switch between various audio and video. And by the way, I also want to just remind you again, one of the reasons I created this channel is to just kind of tinker with this stuff. And suffice it to say, the thing about this, and I have another switch I could turn on here. This is one of those things us YouTube guys like to do just because we want to fit in with all the other guys that are doing this stuff. Turn on a little bling behind you. And by the way, the thing I learned the hard way is that every now and then, if I put my glasses on or turn away, the Canon will accidentally lose focus of my face and focus on one of the faces behind me, because there's some faces on the wall. There's Barney Fife on the wall. There's also pictures of me. It's behind me. It's me with two heads. That's my Zephod Beeblebrox from the two-headed guy from the Hitchhiker's Guide. So it'll pick up the wrong one sometimes. So I have to make sure I have to go like this, so it knows what I'm doing. And sometimes even the glasses throws it off. So it's kind of a thing. If you're going to use a camera other than something that has a fixed focus, like your MacBook, make sure you're in focus every now and then. Just take a look. If it's focusing on the wall, that's not a good thing. So the reason I brought up the other camera situation is you can get yourself going. And I don't know about you, but if I was using I want to make a live feed and I want it to be kind of decent in production. And by the way, I didn't throw any special effects in. I could do that. I'm going to show you how to do that too. I didn't throw the special effects in, but the most important thing you really need to have is decent quality audio and decent quality video and decent quality lighting. There's really just the three things. And you know, the funny part about it is if I have decent quality lighting, it'll make even the built-in camera kind of decent. And even more important, if you have relatively bad quality video, you know, it's not a 4K camera like this, but you have a good microphone like this one here, or that blue 8-ball, which is behind me. And I just want to see, that's a relatively low cost microphone. And they have others that are really like $100 or less. And I know for some people, $100 still sounds like a lot for a microphone, but trust me, if you look at the channels that don't do well, a lot of them have really poor audio. I mean, when you're listening to the person talking, you get the sense that they are, I don't know, talking in their bathroom. And to me, when you listen to somebody like me, not that I'm a pro or an expert or whatever, if you are hearing me, and I'm switching again because we're going to get into that, if you hear somebody like me with headsets especially, it's kind of reminds you of like a radio show, like a Howard Stern. Again, I don't want to keep bringing him up. I'm not a just giant super fanboy or anything, but there's a certain tonality there. Could you imagine if he was using just a $2 microphone, what it would sound like? The show wouldn't sound right. If you're going to do a live stream, try to get yourself a USB microphone. You can buy one for under $100. That's pretty decent. Around $100 is really the tipping point between decent audio and not so decent audio. So if you're going to have one thing, like right now, I just switched to a cheaper camera. It's an old camera. This is actually, I've switched over to a Canon camcorder. They don't even make camcorder. I guess they do, but nobody buys camcorders anymore. So this is a camcorder. It's an old camcorder I found laying around, and I kind of wired it up from the HDMI. I went straight from the HDMI out of the camcorder into a little gadget. It's called a CamLink 4K. It's from Elgato. Elgato makes capture cards. They make something that goes in a computer, but this is easier. This just goes into USB. And as soon as you plug it in, you don't need any software. You just plug it in, and then you automatically see it in your computer as a camera source. And by the way, I have two comments back to back. I think I could do both. Let me see. Can I do both? Oh yes, there you go. So the audio sounds good, the video sounds good. I'm so glad that worked out, because it's kind of embarrassing if I'm putting together a video about better camera and video and audio and lighting, and in my own suck. I tried not to make it suck. So that's really what it's all about. I'm definitely not an audio engineer, video engineer, or whatever. So I have decent lighting. It's not great lighting. At first, most of my videos, actually, to be honest with you, I almost prefer the lighting I used to have in my older channel somewhat, because I used to use this like $20 light kit that I had. But the point is that I did it. I put lights up, and they had these big umbrellas, and I had these simple light bulbs you get in Home Depot for, $5. Nothing special. Now I'm using a $100 light. I feel like, wow, I've got a big upgrade. And this thing here, I bought it because it was 80 watts. It's an 80 watt. This is from a company called GVM. GVM, great video maker. It's a 80 watt LED, and it's a really great light. But I found out, why am I buying 80 watts? I actually have to keep it at its almost lowest setting, because the thing would literally just, it's like a spotlight you'd use at a prison if somebody's escaping from 100 yards. I mean, this thing, whenever I turn it on, just boom, you almost feel like it's going to make a noise. It's so damn bright. So then when you have the light is kind of different, then it's like, all right, now I have to do counter lights. I get shadows.
it's a thing, right? All you really need is decent light. And by decent light, try to find natural light if you can first. If you have windows around, open them up. Use the best light you can. But do not try to put together a video in just a simple incandescent bulb. It just doesn't work. What I found is, like, a lot of people are probably doing Zoom meetings right now because of the whole COVID-19 thing. If you're doing a Zoom, you can always tell the guy who just is kind of literally phoning it in. He doesn't even look at his own screen to notice that he's in the dark. It looks like he's in his bathroom with, actually not even a bathroom. Bathrooms are usually well lit. He's like in his basement, in his dungeon or someplace where he has, no windows and maybe a bulb 6 feet away. And those guys don't look right in the video. Meanwhile, the CEO or whoever looks like they're commanding the meeting is probably sitting there making sure they have some light. Make sure you have decent light when you're shooting something like this. So that's an important thing. Now, let's get back into nuts and bolts and how this software works. So what this software does, ECAMM Live, and by the way, it has this meta mode, which means I can actually have it as a camera source. So I can switch over, and now you're seeing my desktop. And my desktop is right there. But what's kind of interesting is at this moment, the only thing visible is my desktop. Now, if I'm broadcasting live, you obviously know that I'm running the ECAMM software, but it's not showing up here. It sort of knows not to show itself in whatever you're broadcasting, which is kind of cool because otherwise you get kind of the look of a screen within a screen within a screen because you'd have the actual program that's running there. But I can individually then tell it what windows I want it to look at. Like I can actually tell it to show, like, let me give you an example. I'm going to go in and I'm going to launch Safari, right? I'm going to launch just a browser. And now the browser is the thing that's visible right now. And if I went from there to, let's say, my one of my websites, coupon pages, now you're seeing that website, but you're seeing none of the other stuff that's going on. And whatever window is currently active at that time, if I launch Kindle or something else, it will literally just show whatever program I have in the forefront. In other words, if I open a second window, let's say I open Firefox. So now I have 2 windows open on my computer. And you're only seeing one, which I think is really great. So now I have one and it's kind of to my right. I'm going to move it over and it's always going to kind of center it. So in there I can go to, let's say, eBay. Now I have eBay in a window. And then if I switch to Safari, it switches over to Safari, but it doesn't show both at the same time, even though on my own real desktop, I see both. So basically they have a little thing that whatever I'm showing, I could it just says show, and I can tell, well, what do I want to show? And what's great about it, and this is what I'm going to do next, and by the way, I'm just going to close a couple of these things because I don't need Safari. So I'm going to close Safari, which is going to automatically bounce over to my desktop again. And I can also tap Firefox, and now of course open Firefox. Now I'm going to close Firefox just to make sure I don't quit the ECAMM. But now I can also say that within the screens I want to show, I want levels. As I had a comment before, for example, about the no, I'm not. Let me just throw that in there. Can I do that? Yes, I sure can. There are not 2 computers. This is one computer. So as I'm doing this, that's just a window that you're looking at that represents the sound levels that I'm using. And in there, I have a drop down, which means I can individually choose what my sound source is. So for example, when I choose this, it's going to be the sound coming out of the MacBook Pro again. So once again, you should be hearing subpar sound. Now, if it sounds good, it's only because the microphone on the MacBook Pros are actually pretty decent and my room is relatively quiet. But I can switch from one sound to another. Now, in my particular case, I'm going to switch over to the Rodecaster Pro. Pro is it's sort of like an audio interface because these microphones over here, they require some level of interface. They're not digital. They're analog. So, and I keep forgetting which camera's on. Is this one here? Yes, that's the one that's on. So as I'm doing that, the Rodecaster it's sort of like a mixing board. In fact, you know what's kind of cool? I'm going to show you something else. Hey, this is going to be a real experiment that may or may not fall flat on its face. But I'm going to add, let me try to launch something on here if I can find it. I think it's on my desktop. Yes, I know where it is. This is kind of a cool little thing that I forgot to install. Trying to prepare in advance. I forgot to install the program to do what I think I'm trying to find. Let me see if I can find it. I might have put it on there, but didn't put them on the front screen. Maybe that's all I did. No, I don't think I did it. Did I not do it? I didn't. Yeah, I was hoping I have an app that will let me use my iPhone as a camera source. And then I could have pointed down at the keyboard. And I was actually trying to do that in advance. So suffice it to say, you won't be able to see that part for now. But there is in front of me a Rodecaster Pro. In fact, here's an even better thing. See, I could do this because it is kind of live and I can get away with stuff. Oh, yeah, here's another comment. And I don't know if I did it right this time. Did I drag it onto the screen? I can't see it. No, I didn't. I dragged it onto the wrong place. I'm trying. That's all I could say is I try there. MacBook did sound like a waterfall. So I'm switching over. Again, now it should be showing the, well, it doesn't do it until I tell it to. Try to show the current application. So we have Safari here. So I'm going to tell you about the other gadget on my desk, and we're going to go back to the software again. This is RodeMics.com. This is one of my favorite little gadgets I have in the studio here. And I didn't know their website. That's not a good thing, by the way. When in doubt, go to a search engine, Rodecaster Pro. There we go. So this is what I have in front of me right now. This is Rodecaster Pro. Yeah, it is a Rodecaster Pro. There we are. So this is what I have in front of me right now. You know, I can't point my camera to it because of the way I have it configured right now. And I do believe I'm coming through. Am I in the corner? I hope so. Yeah, I think so. Oh, by the way, I'm going to watch my feet. The last time I did that, I kicked out a plug. So you could see what this thing does. It's a mixing board of sorts. And there are knobs, the sliders, for 4 microphones, which I think if I hover, you can actually see the hovering. The 4 microphones. Plus, it also has a Bluetooth section, which means that literally if someone who had my phone number called me right now, they'd actually be part of this live stream. It literally just picks it up as though it was an audio source on my stream, which is really great. I have not yet used that. And next to that is another knob that you could use a wired phone through the headset jack. And then there's the Bluetooth section, which is what determines the sound level of whatever comes out of the Mac that's coming through there. But then on the right side, there's a couple other cool things. Like I have over here some banks. Like I can hit this button and I can control the levels of sound for that sort of thing, and you know, make a little couple of sounds. And then it has banks. Like I can put stuff in there. Like let's see, my fingers aren't that not working. Here, So I have these sound banks. So you can see in the picture here, there are 4 pads. There are 8 pads. There's 4 and 4, and you can put any sounds you want in there, and you can even record stuff in there from scratch. And I think I have a third bank that has maybe a couple more things in it. Yeah, I have like, let's say you want to kind of, hey, look, I'm going to show you the most important thing in the world, and I can Rickroll you. Put a little Rickroll button in there. So I can add these different things in there, and when in doubt, you can kind of just, you know, rib tip a real funny one here. You just, oh, there you go, oh, there you go, there you go. So I you know, you could just tell the level of sophistication we have here. You know, so I have all these little buttons over there. So now I can use this device as another sound source. So basically you do that. Now it has a camera switcher, and I'm going to try to switch us back over here to let's switch back to, no, let's just switch back to camera for a minute. So within, and I have to close this part here because I don't need that part anymore. So I think we're back to camera, right? Am I right? There we go. So yes, so I could switch back to the camera, and there is a switcher, just like you saw the switcher for the audio. There's a switching in the software, which I don't think it can let me capture that part, although I have a way that I could do it. I could kind of show you what this looks like by taking a screenshot of that part of the screen. Kind of a convoluted way to do it. If I do that, and then I tell it to give me a 5-second delay. Yeah, this is a roundabout way to do it, but I'm going to do that, and then there, it's going to capture this in a couple of seconds. So it just captured that, and now I'm just going to go into unloading something up so I could show you the picture I just created. Actually, you know what? I have a better way I could do it. You know, yeah, just do it. Sometimes you just, easiest way is the quickest way, and just get her done, right? Do this. Sorry about the delay. You know, this is live, right? Basic. Start with a blank. I should have just made it into a JPEG, but there. Oh, and it didn't capture it. This is live, all right. So anyhow, there is a camera switcher there, and then basically in that camera switcher, it lets you choose between all the cameras that are currently connected to your computer. So at this moment, I have the CamLink 4K, which is the old Canon, camcorder, and then I could switch over to the second camera on my chain here is my EOS 90D. And the EOS 90D, and this is a killer reason why I'm using ECAMM Live, I'm connecting to it through USB. Now that doesn't sound like a big deal, but I'm using a DSLR as a webcam with USB. If you've ever tried to use a USB camera before, a webcam, they're really low quality. And a DSLR, you always used to have to use some sort of HDMI capture. But I'm actually using USB right now. And USB, it breaks a big problem with using the HDMI. See, and I talk about this in a previous video, but there is a limit. In the customs department did this. They put a tariff on video cameras that's higher than a regular camera, a snapshot camera. So because of the higher tariff, all the snapshot DSLRs that are out there, they limit you to 29 minutes and 59 seconds. After that, they turn off, so that you can't record anything more than 29 minutes and 29 seconds because they're intended to be a snapshot. All right, so what does that mean? So as a snapshot camera, you can't do a feed like we're doing right now. Like I'm currently at 37 minutes on this feed. So 37 minutes into the feed, we're going, and it's still connected. It's still working. If I was using the HDMI method to capture this camera, I would have been cut off at 29 minutes and 59 seconds, and probably shorter than that because I'd probably have the camera on before I even hit the start button. So it's a big problem. And by using USB, you beat that. And this software has that built in. So you just use it, you plug in the USB, and the camera works, and there's no 30-minute limit. Everything is all peachy keen. The third one we have here is a program called ECAMM, which is the one I wanted to show you. And that is a driver. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe it is running. You know what? Let's try something here. I might have spoken too soon. Let me do this. And, maybe it is running, I'm going to put, I didn't realize I had this in here. And I'm definitely going bonkers here. They're trying to make things work. So, you know what? While we're waiting for me to figure this whole thing out, I just realized the software I was looking for is already installed. I just forgot it was installed. So, boy, without further ado, in a couple of minutes, we are going to have, and I just have to launch this little app. I did not realize I had it in there. And if all goes well, this is going to be a beautiful thing. Let's see. It says it's connecting. And is it? Oh, boy, that would be great if it does. It says connecting. Oh, I have to do this, don't I? Maybe. Oh, not sure. It should be working, but it's not. Don't you love it when stuff doesn't work the way it should? Connection method. Oh, there, I have to tell it USB. There you go. Boom, boom, boom. Done. And there. Look. Whoa, there. Look at that. I am going to, you know what I've just done? And of course, it's hard to prove it out. But unless I do this, hang on, I'm going to do this. I'm going to turn this on. And now, now you see what's going on. So basically right now, and one of the cameras is frozen. Oh, I hope I didn't kill my feed. So basically right now, I am on I guess one side of the screen, it should be this my iPhone, right? So my iPhone is now another camera, so I can actually show. Oh boy, I'm all over the damn place. Am I upside down? I think I am. There is a right side up to this. So there's my my gadget, and there's my buttons, and this is how those things work. You could see if you look there, you got my Rick roll button, and there you go. And then I could just tap that. That's all I'm doing. I just do that, and now if I oh, there you go. That's my press your luck sound. So I do that just by tapping away here. And they all work at the same time. If you oh, and it doesn't always give you a good signal. It's because I'm using an old iPhone. I should really use my new one. But I thought it would be a good idea to use the one. Oh, let me turn. Sorry about that. So let me switch back to the main camera again, the 90D. So basically, what I've just illustrated here is, you know, if you're going to use something new, you might want to have an updated phone. That was my old iPhone. This is an iPhone SE from 2000 and something. I think, of course, it's 2000 and something. Everything is lately. It's 4 or 5 years old, and I do have a newer 2020 phone. And by the way, missing some comments. So let me just get people up to date on that, because I just like the fact that I have the ability to do this, and that's one of the other things this software can do. And I'm going to switch over to the screen, and you'll see how I do this. Oh, darn, I don't want that in there. The Canon program came back up. That's really not what I want to see right now. But let me tell it to close this program. Or at least I don't want that there. What I was trying to do is tell it to switch over to a Canon program, the comments and reactions screen. So that's how I'm able to move the comments into the video. So let's say, like, this is an older comment, I can just drag it over. Oh, excuse me, I have to do it from here. If I just drag it onto my screen, wherever I drop it, it appears. And the last time I tried to do a live stream, I dropped it there and I couldn't figure out how to make it go away, which was a real drag. I've now found out there's an option in the software to tell it to put that comment there for a preset number of seconds. So I set it at 30. It was set at 15. I figured, you know what's wrong with 30? I put 30 in. I could change it at any time in the settings. So there's your comment panel. So while using ECAMM Live, you have all these different panels. I'm going to show you, for example, there's another section called camera effects. And if I do that, whatever camera effects I might want to do in terms of changing the lighting, there's even a green screen option, but I'm not using that right now. I do actually have a green screen in my studio here. The green screen is actually a painted wall, so I don't have any creases or anything like that. So I'm going to do some more green screen in the near future. My old channel, Idea of the Day, which I'm going to start using again, Idea of the Day, which is ideaoftheday.com, was all green screen because I really didn't have a studio that had anything interesting going on. So that was there. So you can turn on these options. You could change the brightness and the colors. Like, for example, when I'm using that Canon, they're both Canons. When I use that old camcorder, I look a little washed out. If I wanted to, I can tweak the color temperature a little bit. So there's that. I can also have another menu called the overlays. And if I do that, I can turn on and off various pieces. Now that's the menu for that right there. And I think because I am using that, I'm going to move this over so we can see how this thing can work. So some of the things you could do with this is, these are overlays. I can add an overlay. I'm doing it in the wrong spot. I can add an overlay, and then I choose a file. I'm going to choose a file from my own computer here. This one's a real fun one. And let's use that one for now. And I think I didn't hit the just do an animated overlay, and there I am. And all that fun. So I could trigger that anytime I want, and anytime I push it, it goes like that. Huh? Once it's there, I can move it around and make it bigger or smaller. So like if I want a little reaction shot, anytime I want to go, huh? I could just hit that and it goes, huh? Actually, I don't know if that's visible. You know what? Is it visible? I don't know. I'm new to this, but I think it's visible to everybody, even though I'm in screen mode. So anytime I throw that in there. So I have these other overlays. So the first type of overlay is just simply, anything with a PNG file, let's say a logo, yeah, so yeah, I'm glad that that was visible. So I'm gonna throw that over there, and I don't think it worked because I have another visible window. So if I have a piece of clip art, like there is, this is just a PNG file I found on Google. So now I have that there, and this is so there we go with that, and I'm doing things all on top of each other. So now I have this other image here, and this was a big problem last time I was trying to demonstrate this thing. I was kind of doing this, and it was like I couldn't control it. I couldn't figure out how to make it go away. There was an X there, but I didn't want to necessarily make it go away. So anyhow, what I've discovered is that if you want to change this or move this, if I touch an area that doesn't have an image on it, it doesn't move. But if I touch an area that has pixels, I can move it. And then if I shrink it, I got to grab the lower right-hand corner, and I can make it any size I want. This is all hopefully going out live, which is great. So I could put that there, and I can size it up or down any size I want. And this, again, I have to, if I move it, I have to move it in an area that actually has something on it. And I could just slide with the, in this case, with the touchpad, but you can also do it with a mouse wheel if you have one. But you could just drag that piece around, and you can make it any size you want. You can move it out. Oops, again, I have to touch an area where there is color because I tried to move it and did not move. So I learned that, and then there's a little X button on there that I can close it with, or I can just do this, and it kind of goes away. So that's kind of a cool thing. Then there's like timers and stuff like that. Like if I knew there's a certain amount of time I wanted to, I can plug in that amount of time. Like let's say I say, hey, let's end this broadcast in X amount of time, or at a specific time, or I want to start it at a certain time. I can have that automatically triggered, and so that hopefully is in the scene. So this is the overlay section, and so you can basically bring in an individual still. You could bring in an animated, or you could just bring in text. And a text overlay is as simple as that. This is my test. And then I tell it what font and so forth, but I'm just going to throw it in there. And now it should be there, and there it is. And I could put a border around it. I could put it in a box, but I could do that, and it'll work. Now, there is also a thing to know. There's text. This one here is a widget, and I don't have any widgets, but there are third-party widgets apparently that can do all kinds of weird things like ask for money and stuff like that. And then there's also not overlays. There's another area. Yes, in the camera switcher. I'm going to switch back to the. Can I do that? Can I do that? No, it's the one thing I can't do is show you that one window. But I'm going to just switch over the camera to the camera again now. So we're back over there, and now I have my text over there, and that's kind of a cool thing. They also have the ability in this software to so there's basically 3 different sources at the top, and the first one is the camera, and that's what we're using obviously for most of this video. The second one was the share screen, and again, you can have the screen be the big part and your little icon in the corner. You can move yourself around, or and again, you could switch multiple screens and so forth. But then there's a third option, which is a video file. And a video file, once you click it, it says, all right, well, pick a video, pick something, and I'll let's say choose. Let's say I have a folder here, and you probably can't see the folder, but I could take a production clip from, let's say, Idea of the Day, and here's a piece of production that I put together for Idea of the Day. You do that, and then production. Kind of works, right? So I could pull in videos arbitrarily just by using that option, and I can bring in any file I want. I mean, I've got some wacky ones. Like if you've been following my channel, one of the things I like to do is in the closings, I like to throw a little something in there, like let's say here, wrong channel. Let me go to a different channel. The production clips for, let's see. There we go. I have some. Yeah. No, that's not one I want to go through. I have a lot of wacky ones. I'll say that. Yeah, here's a fun one. Yeah, how about that?
Oh, did I accidentally dial you? I'm sorry. I must have butt dialed you. What do you mean? Of course, it was a mistake. It was an accident. It was an accident. I butt dialed you. Well, how do you know it wasn't an accident? Because it's coming from a rotary phone. Yeah, it is a rotary phone, but that doesn't mean anything. I could still butt dial you. Well, yeah, it takes a little longer, but it's still an accident. So how you been? Hello?
So their alpha's gone, but it's good to have this whole social interaction. And by the way, you know, I know only a handful of people ever get to see these things live, and people end up watching them later on the channel as it archives them if I leave them there. But right now I'm kind of experimenting with this thing, and let's see what we got here. Yeah, get that one in there. So and I use these kinds of things, and people often, you know, people I know offline ask me questions about, why do you put these wacky things at the end of your videos? And that's just one of the crazy things I have. I call them my Easter eggs. Some of them are really kind of just really wacky, like this one here, for example.
Yes, definitely, without a doubt. You know, we've probably talked on the phone at least a dozen times so far, and you know, I think it's time we meet. You know, it's about that time we should meet. You know, no big deal. Maybe a movie, some coffee. You know, anybody could do some coffee. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you know, it's a lot easier. It's a little more. Whatever. Hey, whatever it leads to, it leads to. But as long as we're talking about it, I might as well, you know, full disclosure, let you know that some of the photos in my profile aren't exactly accurate. You know, little things. Well, for instance, the muscles. I photoshopped them in. Yeah. Well, and the head. I left the head on because I'm not really good at Photoshop. Hello? Oh, hey. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. By all means, if you enjoy this sort of thing, hit the thumbs up and make a comment every now and then, and subscribe. And when you subscribe, it'd be a great thing if you hit the little bell next to it. This way, whenever I post a new video, you'll know about it right away. Thanks again. Hello?
Okay, so yes, the text option, there is definitely text options that let you choose what kind of text you have. In fact, let me see if I can turn on the screen and go back to the overlay section, and I'm going to do this, and I'm not sure if it's going to show you the dialogue as well, but there are different types of overlays, and one of them was just fixed position. The other one's called a scrolling ticker. So to show this off, I'm going to just write down the usual, the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy moon. No, it's not moon, it's dog. And there's a reason for that. I'm going to just, and there's a reason for that. Right? I just wrote something that's kind of long in there, and I'm going to push it. And now across my stream, I have this scrollable area, and it'll be there no matter what is on my screen, and I can set all kinds of fonts and colors and things like that. Like if I had a canned message where I want to thank sponsors or thank viewers, I can put it in a text file and then just throw it in there, and it'll just play the whole thing out, and you know, you can change how big it is and where it is and what color it is and whether it has a background or not, that kind of stuff. And it's, by the way, it's repeating because that's an option too, whether or not it should or shouldn't repeat. Kind of a cool option. I've yet to use most of this stuff because I'm kind of learning it as I'm teaching it. It is a really cool option. And again, just like the other one, you can drag it around, and it is something you could just turn off with that same overlay menu. Oh, by the way, I should also mention this software has its own sound effects outside of my wacky soundboard. They give you a couple to follow. Like that. And I can do that through here. I can show how that's done too. As a matter of fact, let me tell it I want to show the sound effects. So sound effects is another panel, just like all the others. So I can tell it I wanted to loop or not, and There you go. And there's a couple, things like that. So you could turn those kinds of sounds on, and of course you can add your own. So if you have like a theme, you want to have just cartoon sounds, or maybe something from Star Trek, or some kind of a wacky morning DJ kind of stuff, you can cue that all up and add your own. These are the ones that actually come with it. So these are all built in. Now here's kind of an interesting thing. Like, as you can see, I try to talk to the camera mostly, but when I'm talking and trying to do something on the software, I have to put my glasses on, right? And then I have to kind of look around for the little button that I want to use. Now, there's another tool here, which I guess I didn't mention. This is a really great tool that I have. It's called a Stream Deck. Now, Stream Deck lets you take any of these options that you're looking at here, and I'm going to switch back to camera again, and attach them to a button in this little bugger here. So here it is. So the Stream Deck is configurable through software. In fact, I can do that. I can switch over to screen share, and in this case, tell it I want the current window again, and then I'm going to launch the Configure Stream Deck software. So now, hopefully, you're seeing that. This is Stream Deck, and it basically is a piece of hardware with buttons on it, right? So you saw the buttons. Let me just move this over so I can. I don't want that on the same screen as this. So what it lets you do is they have presets for a whole bunch of different programs, and I keep looking at the wrong place. So they have presets for a whole bunch of different programs that you can just push in on a specific button. So for example, I could say, like before I played that silly video, right? I could take this Stream Deck program and I could put that video in one of the buttons. And when I do that, it actually is going to have a button that lights up on that Stream Deck device. It's like a virtual keyboard. And then what I do is I configure that. Let me move some other windows over to do. It says play video, but then I could choose something that's been recently used, including those butt dial things, and Photoshop and the cube assembly. So let's say I do the cube assembly, and then it has an icon, and by default the icon is just whatever. If it's a picture, it'll be the picture. And basically what that means now is that now on my Stream Deck, there's a new button that looks exactly like what you see here. That's that blue background, and it has a title. And I could change the title too if I wanted to. I can just do that and show a title, and I can give it a better title. Title right now just says play video, but I could change that to say cube. Right? So now the button says cube, and it looks exactly like what you're seeing right here. And when I hit it, it plays that video. So I could put all sorts of things in there. If I wanted to, I could put some presets in there, like I could make it play a YouTube video. I could make it play something like a sound effect. You have sounds. I could do a play sound and drag that over to here. I could drag over the camera switcher, and then every time I hit that, it could say, I want that to be the Canon. So let's say I drag the camera switcher and I put it right over here, right? So now I get a button that says camera switcher. And then at the bottom, it'll say, well, which camera do you want it to switch to when you hit it? So I can say, well, I want that one to go to the CamLink 4K, which is the device that's currently the other Canon. And now just to give it context, I'm going to do a camera switcher on the second one. And now that one there, I can tell it, well, it says FaceTime is the default. I'll make it go to the 90D. There. Now, that said, I now have these two buttons side by side. One says CamLink and the other one says 90D. So if I push that button, it switches me to the 90D. If I hit the other button, it switches me to the other camera. Now, why is this important? Well, if you get a tool like this, right? And in this particular case, I am, again, I'm trying to talk to the camera. And by talk to the camera, I mean, like right now, talk to this camera. Right? I'm talking to this camera. By the way, the sound just changed because I wasn't facing the mic. Sorry about that before. But if I want to switch without having to literally put my glasses on and then look around on the screen for the icon for the other camera, I now have these big buttons, so I could just push that, and I know that when I push that, it switches to the other camera. And now I don't, I could do this seamlessly, switch from camera to camera. And they do, and this is all done through the Stream Deck hardware, which is really a great feature. So the Stream Deck is physical hardware. I mean, it's not it's software too, but what it really does, and I should also point out, and I'm going to go back to the Stream Deck configurator. I don't know if that's what they call it, but I'm calling it this configurator. So I'm going to the Stream Deck configurator, and this again, I can create multiple profiles. I want to show you that. This is the profile. Oh, I keep clicking in the wrong place. So here I could tell it, well, which profile do I want? Well, I have one here for right now, the one I'm using right now. But I can make other profiles, and every time I switch to profile, the buttons switch. Like the default starts with only one button, and there's a button that when you hit it, all it does is launch the their welcome page that tells you how to use it, right? So, but then I can add to that my own buttons. This is the original ECAMM setup that I had set up, and then the one that I did here called Profile 1, well, that was the built-in one, and then I have this one here. So the one I had just created a few minutes ago, and this one has buttons about hide picture-in-picture. I have a button for that. So the one I've been using is this one, and that's the one that has the two camera switchers. But I can create different profiles for different programs. Like if I wanted to use this for just general productivity, I can add, for doesn't have to necessarily be for using the ECAMM. It could be used for a variety of system features. For example, like the system features, I could just simply drag a button in here that says website. All right, let's say I put that there. And then at the bottom, well, I tell it what website I want. Let's say http:// and they could do it without the ://. But I say www.ideaoftheday.com and then give it a title. And I'll just say idea. So now that button there says, oops, I hit enter there. I didn't need to. So now I have a button here that just says ID. And if I hit that button on my computer, it just automatically takes me to idea of the day. And that I do with just a physical button, and I could do that whether I'm in ECAMM live or not. And then, of course, if I push this button, I'm back on camera 1. And I push this button, and now I'm back to camera 2. And if I switch back, I guess the thing I should be doing is a screen share, and I push that button. Now I'm back to screen share. And in that context, I'm going to go back to my configurator. Is that what they call it again? I don't remember if that's what they call it, but here's my Stream Deck configurator. So I could do a bunch of system things like that, just launches a web thing. But then you have just plain open, which is launch. If I just do that, I could do this and then choose a specific app that I wanted to launch. And it could be any application, let's say on a Mac that I want. Like I can make that launch Final Cut Pro or Firefox or, well, literally almost anything. Let's say I want to go to, let's say Final Cut Pro would be a good one. Yeah. Do that. And now that icon, and by the way, I just want to also point out, you see the way this has like a little picture on it? These pictures don't just show up on the software. That this Stream Deck, that's a real screen. So you can, as far as I'm concerned, I just turn off the title. Because when I see that, I know the picture of Final Cut Pro. I know what it looks like. I know exactly what I'm getting when I hit that button. If I fire it up, Final Cut Pro will come out. If I have my button that takes me from camera to camera, and I could switch out, and then switch over to my screen share, and I could switch over to my Final Cut Pro if I wanted to. So there's all sorts of things you could do, and the most important ones are literally to launch a program. Then there's little things like the hotkey switch. Sounds funny, but when you do hotkey or hotkey switch, a hotkey just simply is, let's say you have a program that tells you to hit Alt or Command, Control, Shift, Q to do something. And that's like hard for you to remember. So you can just go into there and configure that hotkey so that every time you hit it, it just hits that keystroke. exactly that. And then the hotkey switch does the exact same thing. It hits a switch, but then as soon as you hit it, the second time you hit it, it hits a second thing, which was kind of cool. So you hit it once, and it does that, and you hit it again, it does another thing. So like let's say in Final Cut Pro, to switch from the blade mode, it's the letter A. And if you want to go to, no, blade is B, and the switch out of blade is A, and you don't remember that. So you make one button that just says blade and one that says regular, and you just hit that and it hits the key for you, which I think is a really great feature. And by the way, they also have all these other apps. You can have OBS, which is similar program to ECAMM, and I'm going to get into that another day because I have yet to learn that. I found the ECAMM to be easier. So you can do this. Plus, you can also just launch, and I don't know if that'll show up on the screen there. Yes, it does. You can launch a whole bunch of other different profiles, and within certain programs, you could just have a whole bunch of presets that you can bring in. So I, for example, could put in here, here's a couple that were fun. One is the CPU. If I hit that, then I could just look on my Stream Deck, and at any given time, I know what my CPU usage is. That's kind of cool. The one I actually found pretty interesting, believe it or not, was this counter. Believe it or not, the counter was actually pretty cool. And so now I have counter in my set of profiles. So somewhere down here, we have counter. So I could drag that onto a button, right? You can see it right there, and it has a 0 written in it. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a 0 in that button. Now, if I hit the counter button, it changes to a 1. Wow. It changed it again. Now it's a 2. Hit it 4 more times, right? It says 6. Hey, what's that for? Well, I ended up using that once. I ended up putting 4 different buttons on another profile, right? And then anytime, let's say, a client called, I'd hit it. Anytime there was a problem, I'd hit it. Anytime whatever, I just hit it. And at the end of the day, I looked down and I said, wow, there was 6 phone calls, 3 problems, 2 whatevers. And I was thinking, all right, that was kind of cool. It's kind of like a little clicker that you'd put in your hand, just count every time there's a ball or a strike or something like that. Well, anyhow, and by the way, you just hold it, it resets to 0. Anyhow, what I was able to do with that, which I found pretty clever, was I turned off the computer, and the very next day, I'm sorry, I missed a comment there before, and I'm not sure how to drag it onto the screen because, I push my button to go back to a camera that I can trust. There's this one here, and I think I'm on that one. So, and let me get back to my ECAMM. So the Stream Deck comes in a few different versions. And by the way, back to the original thing about the counts, when you turn your computer off and you turn it on the next day, the counts are still there from the previous day. So you can reset them, but so it's like, hey, if you just want to count how many times you touch your face because you're trying to avoid the whole, coronavirus thing, and every time you do it, you kind of push it. Maybe at the end of the day, you want to have a goal of not having touched your face too often, and you look at it and you count it, or the number of times people call, or the number of times the baby cries or whatever. So it carries over the next day. So in my case, if I wanted to use it to, let's say, track phone calls and then bill somebody for the time, because that's what I do, I write software and I answer tech calls, I could do that. And I could say, well, the first button is this client, the second button is another client, and give them a title. And then boom, I hit it. I don't even need the title, by the way, just know by the position. I hit it and the number goes up. That's kind of cool. So back to the Stream Deck. The Stream Deck costs, they have a low-end model. I think it starts at about $100, maybe a little more. But then they have like 3 sizes. So as an example, the size I'm using right now is the XL, and that's got let's see how many rows. 4 rows of 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. 4 rows of 8. So I get 32. So I have 32 possible buttons. And you know what's funny? I was on the fence at first about whether or not I was going to get the bigger one. Because if I go to here, Amazon, you know what, even better. But yeah, let's go there because you can see the pricing too. So I go there and I type in Stream Deck. It's auto completing me, Stream Deck. So this one here is $150, but then they have a $96 one with 6 buttons. Now, here's the kind of a cool thing. Now, this one here only has the 6 buttons, and that kind of seems like it might be restrictive, but you can make one of the buttons go to a folder and then give you another 6 buttons. And then within that, you can have another bunch of folders. So your first folder can have nothing but 6 folders. And then you can make one folder and call it special effects, and another folder something else. And then you could use it for something else. And you maybe have another one, you know, and again, it just goes on and on. So the Stream Deck that I'm using is the XL. So I think that's $200. Not seeing it in the list, but I think it was 200. Oh, you know what? I'll search for that one. XL. So to have 32 buttons, they are getting $250 for it right now. And that's kind of, you know, a little high, but I don't know. I figured if I got the little one, I'd only end up having envy if people had more, and I'd want to have more. I just figured I would. And you know what? With this, with the 4 rows of 8, I can kind of organize it. Like the top row, I can make a camera switching 1, 2, 3, 4. The second row, in my case, I have a button here that says overlays, and when I push that, I have the, you know, one for like the Vovio logo, which is my other company, and well, actually that just did kick in. I turned on that, so I can use that button there, and then of course I can turn it on, I can turn it off. So you can actually expand beyond that. And by the way, if you just want to tinker with the functionality, I think they actually have a software version of it. You could do a Stream Deck on your iPhone or iPad. If you have an iPad, you could definitely do the 36 button. Yes, best to have more in case you need it. I definitely feel the same. Now, if you pay them a monthly fee, I think you could do Stream Deck on an iPad. So you can literally have the same functionality, but on an iPad, and but it's a monthly fee. But if you think about it, if you're going to have like, you could probably put 32 buttons on an iPad, and if you don't mind tying up your iPad, you could do it with the iPad through software, and in $3 a month, it'd take you a lot of months before you end up using the same $250. But I think it's a great thing. So to me, it's a great little feature. And by the way, I'm going to try switching back. Does this work? Oh, I love my Stream Deck. I just love the fact that I could do that, and I really could. You know, again, I could switch, and I could switch. Am I on this camera? Oh, I think I did not set the switcher up on this profile. I did it on the other one. Oh, I did it on the bottom row. That's right. Hey, I'm on that camera. Hey, I'm on this camera. And by the way, I just want to point out the reason I set up the multiple cameras wasn't that I wanted to be, you know, Steven Spielberg or some big director and have a 5-camera shoot. It's really, to me, it was about having a backup, because I've had issues trying to plug stuff in, and sometimes a driver will go wacky, or something will go wrong, or the battery will fail or something. Oh, and that's another thing. If you're going to do something like this with a DSLR or a camcorder or some other alternative camera, it's a good idea to go without a battery. Like right now, I'm using a power cord on the Canons, both of them. So the Canon camcorder, it has a power pack. I plug that in, so it's basically in charge mode. And on the DSLR, there's an adapter that you can get. I only paid like $15 that turns the camera bay into a wired source, so it's got continuous power. Otherwise, it would have went out. But I didn't want it to go out in the middle of a stream. So for that reason alone, I went with the 2 cameras, just in case something goes wrong. I didn't want to just have the stream just stop. So I figured I'd have a backup camera, and there's, I could switch over to the other one, and now I have my backup camera. And so, and by the way, the backup camera is not all that bad. It is a 1080p camera, and I think the lighting is just a little different, but that's because it doesn't have the ability to do the kind of control that I have in the DSLR, where I can just, hey, give it a warmer look just by choosing to. I can make that brighter or darker just by tinkering with the camera settings. And I can't do that with the camcorder. It's kind of mostly an automatic. I mean, there's probably ways of tinkering, but I don't want to tinker. I like to tinker, but I don't want to have to tinker. I like to be able to, you know, there's buttons and dials on a camcorder. It's just, you know, the menuing system's a little crude and everything. So anyhow, that's how I'm live streaming now. I'm using the ECAMM Live, and I'm using the Rodecaster Pro. I'm using the Sennheiser and the Neumann microphone. I'm using a Stream Deck. I'm using a MacBook Pro. There's a Canon EOS 90D. I've got a GVM lighting kit. I've got another camcorder over there. So these are just tools. I'm going to do a follow-up video at some point to just talk about not just the nuts and bolts of how to use this stuff, but I do a lot of that on my channel. But I also want to talk about the reason some channels are more successful than others, including myself. Like, I could be more successful. That's not that I'm not trying to be successful, but there are specific things people do to try to market themselves. Like right now, one of the things I'm one of those guys that's like, do as I say, not as I do. There are a lot of things that I can do to make my channel a little more, I don't know, I wouldn't say productive, but give it a higher profile, maybe even make some money off of it. I don't focus on a lot of that, but I think I will, just to prove a point, show how it's done. Because I did kind of get some decent response on my two channels combined, like 600,000 views so far. And I'm small, but there are certain tricks to the trade. Like I started to mention it before, and I kind of got distracted in my mind. Those little clips you saw, I put them at the ends of all my videos. They're like Easter eggs. And why would I put an Easter egg like that in there, especially a silly thing like that? Well, it's twofold. When I put a video like that in there, at the end of your videos, well, there's Google. It's YouTube and Google. They're the same company. They put all these little things to watch the next video. And I got tired, for example, of doing a video and I'm in the middle of the content and having, when I play it back, it's like, here's the next videos and it's getting all these suggestions and stuff. It was covering it all. So I thought to myself, you know what? I need to put something at the end of the video that they could put crap all over it and it wouldn't affect the content of whatever the original thing I was saying was. So I figured, let me finish my content and then I'll put a little bumper at the end that if they wanted to put something there, that would do it. But the second ulterior motive for that was simply that as I was doing that, it's like, well, you want to tell people, hey, it's great to subscribe and leave comments. And by the way, subscribers and commenting are what YouTube is built on. When you have subscribers, more people find your videos. They suggest you to more people. If you have less than 1,000 subscribers like me, YouTube is not as likely to recommend your videos as they would if you have 1,000. And I really want to have 1,000 viewers so I can get that. I'm getting close. I'm like 900 or whatever on both channels. It's like, so between them, I actually have like 1,800 or 1,700. But I have two channels and they both have about 800 or 900 each. As soon as I get to the 1,000 part, yeah, they'll start pushing it. But so you want to encourage people to sign up to do that. And then you don't want to keep repeating it over and over. So you try to do it in a little fun way. So I make those little video clips up and I make fun of myself and put little jokes in there. So that's part of the reason I do that. But encouraging people to do that is definitely something people do. And that's why you see everybody who does a video saying at the end, please leave a comment, even if it's bad. Please leave a thumbs up. Even if you want, leave a thumbs down, because Google doesn't like videos that don't have any interaction. So even if somebody puts a message in, believe me, you got to have thick skin on YouTube. I've gotten messages that are really ridiculous. I've gotten fun messages. I've gotten really horrible messages. Some of the horrible ones are like, you suck. You look like so-and-so. You're such a jerk. Meanwhile, these are people who, hey, they're not out there. And they're, we call them trolls in the industry, but they just troll videos and they're just like leaving snide remarks. But you know what? I love those remarks as long as they don't get off color. Because any comment is better than no comment. And YouTube appreciates that and gives more relevance to people who have a lot of comments. Any video I have that has, let's say, north of 3,000 or 4,000 views, you can guarantee there were a lot of comments. And the reason that 4,000 or 5,000 or as many as 20,000 or so on some, I have one video with 60,000 views on it, maybe 70. Those videos have a lot of comments. And because of those comments, YouTube favors them, saying, hey, there's a conversation going on here. There's something going on. So you really want to encourage people as much as you can to leave a comment. That's why I'm so glad that even though I've only got a small audience while I'm live, that there is at least some commenting going on. And when this video eventually goes up, though not many people are going to watch the whole thing, that's the nature of live, maybe some will, they'll leave comments. And the comments, again, they help the channel, they help YouTube understand that there is some interaction going on and it's good. So that's something, that a lot of people will do. And this video is, again, longer than I probably expected it would be. So I'm going to cut it short in just a little bit. In fact, I think I'm getting close to the end of what I can say. And I have so much more to say. That's what's kind of weird about the whole thing. I have so many things I want to say about what makes YouTube work, what makes some videos more popular than others, what makes some channels more popular than others, why do some look better than others, what can you do to make them more popular, what can you do to make them more, I don't know, interactive, what can you do to get a better YouTube channel? Well, I'm not just going to talk about hardware. I want to talk about the business of YouTube, the way to make your channel better, the way to make your streams better, the way to grow. I want to get through that. We'll do that in a future video. I'm not sure if I'll schedule the next one exactly a week from today, but I did the last time and it was good. The one weird thing is, if you have some way of building a mailing list, an email list, it's probably a good idea to use that, because then you can at least be on your own terms to let your audience know when you're there. Because I can tell you this, some people knew that I was out there because I scheduled this a week in advance, but I subscribed to myself with different email addresses, and I got no notifications myself that I have a video coming up or a live stream coming up. And so nobody really knows I'm here, except for a handful of people who maybe did get the notification because maybe they don't have they don't subscribe to that many videos. But YouTube doesn't always promote these things. Facebook, by the way, does. If you're on Facebook, if you go live, they'll push that out to all your friends that are online at that moment. They'll all know about it. But YouTube doesn't work that way. You can't guarantee that people will see the live version of your feed. But I want to go over those things and things you could do to improve that. So this is what we'll probably do in a future video. There's a lot more I want to do, and maybe we'll even talk about my hair one time or another, my beard. Why do I always look different? If you look at my videos from even a few months ago, I look different. It's all fun. It's all good. And I just want to thank the people who have been here, like Leona Rosales and Alpha, who has scrolled off my screen, Alpha Omega Creations, the Alpha Omega, the beginning and the end. And I think I might have had another one here, but I don't remember. But I want to thank you guys for interacting, and maybe we'll get some more people involved. And again, I'm going to follow some of my own advice in the future so that maybe we can get some more traction, and be a great way to show that it can work, these strategies. I mean, again, do as I say, not as I do. I know how to build a good YouTube strategy. I don't always follow my own advice because I'm not really doing this for the money. I do it for fun. But a lot of people do want to maybe make a career out of it. I'm stammering here. A career out of it. So I'm going to talk about some of that too. How you might be able to make a few bucks, maybe a car payment every month by doing this sort of thing. So that's kind of stuff I want to cover in the future. And I'm going to use my little buttons here. I tried to do this the last time. I have a nice little outro music. I'm going to push the button and I'm going to start to say goodbye. There we go. And I think we got some music going there. Hey, there we go. And with that, I'm going to end my broadcast. Thanks for signing in. I don't even know, how do I end this thing? We have a bye for now coming up there. And then I'm going.